Kal Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Sotah Daf Lamed Bet, Amud Aleph, 32a1. We are on the new Perek. Perek Shavi, the 7th chapter. Shavua Tov, we will be starting. Says the Mishnah, Elu Ne'emarin Bechol Lashon. These are Dvarim. Yeah, I didn't get a response. These are Dvarim that you could say in any language, not only in Lashon HaKodesh, but anything. Parashat Sotah, Uvidui Ma'aser, Kriyat Shema, Utfila, Ubirkat HaMazon, Ushvuat HaEdut, Ushvuat HaPikadon. What does that mean? We're talking about different things which could be said in other languages as well. So the entire concept of Parashat Sotah, which basically the Kohen will come, he's going to make her swear and all those things, that could be done in English if you wanted to, and it doesn't have to be done in Hebrew, right? So he comes and he says, Uvidui Ma'aser. Also, we're talking about Vidui Ma'aser. What is Vidui Ma'aser? Vidui, which is done at the time of Biur Ma'asrot, when you're getting rid of the Ma'asrot, right? When you're doing that, right? When you're taking the Ma'asrot out of your house, and you say this entire psukim and everything about Aramio Vedavi, you know, the Aramaic wanted to destroy my father, and the same thing, you could do that in English. Kriyat Shema, Shachrit Ravit, Tfilah, Amidah could be done in English. Again, I say English because this is our language, but it could be done in any language. They said Bechol Lashon. Birkat HaMazon, Ushvuat HaEdut. Shvuat HaEdut is a shavua that you're going to come and you're going to say that you don't know anything about the money, and then you say, no, I do know about it. So therefore, you're chayav on a shavua, because if I come to you and I say, Richard, right, you have to testify that right now I lent this guy money or whatever. So I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? You were right. I don't know what you're talking about. Swear to it. And you swore. Now you just testified falsely. Because afterwards you come and you admit that you did know. Yeah. And you were there. You were present. Yeah. So that's called Shavuat HaEdut. Right. So that could be done in any language as well. Shavuat HaPikadon, the same thing. I give Amichai claro, and I tell Amichai, here's the claro. No, what are you talking about? I say, he swears that he doesn't know anything about it. Afterwards, if he's going to come in and is going to admit, he has to bring a Shavuat HaEdut, which means he's going to bring a korban, and all that thing, the entire story could be done in any other language as well. Now, there's other things which have to be done in Lashon HaKodesh. Ve'elu ne'emanim b'Lashon HaKodesh. These are the things that have to be done in Lashon HaKodesh. Mikra bikurim, when you're bringing bikurim. Remember, bikurim is not maaser. Bikurim are the first fruits that you bring to the Bet HaMikdash, to the temple, that has to be done in Lashon HaKodesh. Number 2, Halisa. Right? We all know the story of the Yibum and Chalitza. So Chalitza, not the Yibum, Chalitza, right? Has to be done in Lashon HaKodesh. Berachot u'klalot. When we're talking about the blessings and the opposite of blessings, when Bnei Yisrael were commanded to go into the land of Israel, whether in Parashat Bechukutai or in Parashat Kitavot, that has to be done in Lashon HaKodesh. Birkat Kohanim. Imagine right now you have a very secular, right, synagogue. And they say, you know what? We do Birkat Kohanim, the blessing of the Kohanim. We do it in English. Doesn't exist. Birkat Kohanim has to be done in Lashon HaKodesh. Birkat Kohen Gadol. The Kohen Gadol on Avodat Yom Kippurim, even if he knew Roman or whatever it is, much better than we knew the Hebrew, he has to say the entire beracha of the Kohen Gadol in the Kodesh Kodeshim and all these things. He has to say it in Lashon HaKodesh. Parashat HaMelech, when the Melech comes and he reads after Hechal, after the 7th year, right, on the 8th year, when he's going to come and during Sukkot, he's going to read the parasha in the middle of the Bet HaMikdash. That has to be done in Lashon HaKodesh. Yeah? Right? Parashat Eglah Rufa. Right? What is Eglah Rufa? The Ziknei Eglah Rufa, which again, somebody was killed, they don't know exactly what happened. Or Mashuach Milchama, during the time that they're going to be speaking to the people. That means when he used to come and address, right? Imagine they're going out to war, and the one that's anointed, he would have to dress everybody, all the soldiers. That has to be done in Lashon HaKodesh. And now we're going to explain one by one. Mikra Bikurim, we're talking about now the Mikra Bikurim. Yeah? Keitzan, what exactly is said Lashon HaKodesh? Ve'anita v'amarta lifnei Hashem lokecha. Ulha lanu omer, and then afterwards it's going to be said, right? Hu omer ve'anu alvim v'amru, right? And they come and they say, and they answer. So he comes and he says, ve'anu alvim v'amru. Ma lehalan, just like over there, by the klalot, aniyah ve'amira is going to be done by Lashon HaKodesh. So too by bikurim, it's aniyah ve'amira, which means that you're saying it and you're answering, it has to be done by Lashon HaKodesh. Chalitza keitzad, how do you do chalitza? It says ve'aneta ve'amra. She answered and she said, ulhalanu omen, and it says ve'anu alvim v'amru. That the Levim answered, right? And they said, so it's basically we're learning a gzera shava from each one. And since we're learning it as a gzera shava, right? What we're trying to learn is that just like over there, it's Lashon HaKodesh, so too here, it's Lashon HaKodesh. Rabbi Yehuda says there's another place also. By Chalitza says, that she answered and she said, this is what you're going to do to a man that he doesn't want to build his brother's house. So she has to say it in that language, in that terminology. It's just not stam whatever she wants. She has to say it in that language. Berachot uklalot keitza. What is the case of berachot and klalot? So he said over here, once they passed the Jordan River to go to the Mount Gerizim, right? And the Mount Eval, in Shomron, right? Shebetzad Shechem beside Shechem Shu Betzel Lemoreh. So therefore, that's what they have to say. Shneimar says in pasuk, Halo Ema Bever Yedenu L'Hanon Omer VeYavor Avram Ba'aretz HaMakot Shechem Lemoreh. Ma Elom Moreh Amul L'Halan. Just like by Avram Avinu with Shechem, so to Lemoreh, which is said here, it's going to be by Shechem. Shisha Shvatim Alu L'Rosh Gerizim. So there were 6 tribes that came out on top of Mount Gerizim, and 6 tribes that came on top of Hareval. So the Kohanim and the Levim and the Aron HaKodesh were on the bottom, in between the 2 mountains. Okay, in between them. So the Kohanim were surrounding the Aron. And the Levim were surrounding the Kohanim. Meaning you have Aron in the center, around them, surrounding them are Kohanim, and surrounding the Kohanim are the Levim. Okay? You have all the Jews, half, on the 2 different mountains. Right? Around the Aron. Hafchu, right? So then what happened? So he comes and he says, right? And he says, so they went to Har Gerizim, they turned towards Har Gerizim, right? And they started with a bracha. Blessed is the people that they do not make a pesel masecha, different like idolatries, right? And then everybody comes and they answer, Amen. Amen. Right? Then okay. Then they turn the other way. Hafchu, right? Exactly. Hafchu. They turn to Areval, right? They start with the klala. So 1 second, you just bless the people that they do not make. Now you're going to curse the ones that they do this idolatry. And the answer, amen. Until they finish all the brachot u'klalot. And then afterwards they brought the stones, right? And then they built a mizbeach, an altar, and they plastered it with the line. Then they came and they wrote everything in the Torah, which is written in 70 different languages. That it's explained properly. So they came and they wrote it in many different languages. Then they took the stones of the mizbeach, right? And they went and they stayed in the Gilgal, because that's where they placed the stones. Okay? And with this, we finish the Mishnah. Okay. Says the Gemara. Lamed Bet Amud Bet, 32b, says the Gemara. Parashat Sotah Minalan. How do we know that you could say Parashat Sotah in any language that you want? The Kohen says to the woman, in any language he could say it. We learned in the Braita. We let her know in any language that she understands. Why is she drinking? What is she drinking? With what utensil? What brings her to the concept of niyuf, of adultery? In any case that it's going to check her. Meaning we come and we actually start, giving her all the everything. You understand that we tell her she's drinking because she did pritzut, she did something promiscuous, or she's drinking because of that. So all these things we come and we tell her what's going on. Al-Mai Shota, what is she drinking? Why? Because she had done kinui sira. The husband came and he suspected her, and therefore he did kinui, and then she did sira. V'mai Shota b'mekida shel cheres, with a cheres, with an earthenware clay pot, right, like a utensil. Almani tzimet aliske schok v'yaldut, because she started with schok v'kaluturos. Remember, nobody comes and commits adultery being all serious. There had to be something of lightheadedness, of joking, of this, and then all of a sudden they come and they do a navedah. Even whether it's going to be b'shogeg accidentally, on purpose, whether it was force majeure, whether it was b'ratzon, you understand? Meaning that dafka it's going to be b'mezidu b'ratzon, not going to be if she was done be'ones or b'shogeg. Meaning if it was done accidentally or force majeure, she was violated, obviously she's not going to be killed. You understand? She was violated. What do you want from her? Yeah? Why do you need to tell her so much? We don't want to be motzi laz. Why? If you come and you just give her to drink and she doesn't understand what's going on, now she did it accidentally, and then she doesn't blow up. So what's she going to say? That these waters are all false, that these waters are all fake, that they're all, it's not true waters. So because of that, what happens? It becomes problematic. You're being motzi laz. You're going to say lashon hara about these waters. So because of that, they explain it to her. Because if she knows in her mind that it was only done accidentally, was done by violation, whatever, so then she's going to say, okay, that's why it didn't work.
She's going to wait this time.
So now it says, right, vidui maaser. How do we know that vidui maaser could be said in any language? Right, when it says v'amarta, it doesn't say v'anita v'amarta. It just says v'amarta. You should say it. So just like by v'amarta, by the sotah, you could say it in any language, and we just proved why. So too, since vidui maaser is compared to the sotah, because we're making gzera shava, so therefore you could say it in any language. Elmaleh one second, why didn't you learn it from the Levim? Malahalan, just like over there when it says Vanu Levim v'amiru, the Levim answered and they said it. So therefore, Amira by Levim had to be Lashon HaKodesh. So to this should be Lashon HaKodesh. So answers the Gemara, Danin, Amira Greidata, Amira Greidata. We're going to learn Amira by itself, with Amira by itself, meaning it's only written Amira by itself by the Vidui Maaser. And it's written Amira by itself by the Sotah. But by the Levim, it's written Amira Greidata, Maniya V'Amira, Ve'anu Ve'amiru. They answered and they said. So therefore, I prefer to compare apples with apples instead of apples with apples and oranges. Okay? Tanya, we learned in a brighter. Shimon Bar Yochai says, Adam omer shivcho bekol namuch ugnuto bekol ram. What does that mean? Right? We're talking about, when we're talking about, the concept of Amira. So a person is going to say his shevach, right, in a kol namuch. And his gnut, he's going to say bekol ram. You should say shivcho bekol namuch. Right? How do we know that you're going to say shivcho bekol namuch? Vidui maaser. Meaning a person had to say, I didn't transgress your commands and I didn't forget. So he's praising himself. The Torah comes and he says, Amira. You have to say it by yourself. What does that mean? Right? Without aniya, meaning you don't say it out loud. Meaning when you're praising yourself, don't praise yourself with flowers. Do it in a low voice. Right? Ginuto bekol ram. But when you're going to say something negative about yourself, you have to say it out loud. Where do you say that? From the Mikra of Bikurim. It says Arami Ovedavi, which is a gnut to him. That basically you're just saying that, listen, that at the beginning, one of our forefathers was Levan Arami, that he was a Rasha. And therefore the Torah says, Vanita Vamarta, you have to answer if you say it aloud, which means that a lot of people, they do the opposite. They like praising themselves. I'm the biggest Sadiq. I'm here all the time in nets. I learn Torah all the day. I'm this, I'm the biggest Sadiq in the world. I'm the biggest, so they start saying all these things, right? But then when they come and they say the negative, right, you can't even hear them. As if like, what are you talking about? There's no negative. It's the exact opposite. When you're saying something positive, you'll say it in a low voice. When you're saying something negative, you have to scream it out. Okay? So says the Gemara, are you going to say something negative in such a loud voice? Rabbi Yochanan said, right? Why is it that they did the tefillah out quietly? Meaning, listen, we all want to say Amidah. Why don't we scream Amidah? Say Amidah out loud. Says, you know why? In the tefillah. Meaning, in the middle of whether it's going to be Salach Lanu Avinu Ki Chatanu, or Ashivenu Avinu Torotecha, or in the middle of Shema Kolenu, when we do Vidui or things like that. Imagine right now, everybody would have to do it out loud, and all of a sudden you keep quiet. But what are you going to do? You're going to start saying out loud. You're going to start saying, listen, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I did this Avera, and please forgive me. And fine, but if everyone's screaming, it's a little bit different. Everyone's screaming. You understand? 100%. You understand? Tanya, as we say over here like this, he says, do you know that we do the chatat and the olah in the exact same place? Did you ever realize that? Why do you do the chatat and the olah in the exact same place?
So people won't be embarrassed.
Very good.
So people won't be embarrassed.
You don't embarrass. Because you don't know this guy brought a chatat or brought an olah. You don't know.
I understand.
So that's why it's very important. So he says, so lo tema gnuto ela ema tsa'aro. You're right. You're not supposed to say your gnut in kol ram. You're not supposed to say your negative attributes in out loud, but rather your suffering, you could say out loud. And therefore you could say, listen, we were suffering. We suffered in Mitzrayim. We suffered from Lavan. That you could say. You could say your tsaros, as I say. Yeah, your tsarot. That you could say out loud. But you don't have to say your negative attributes out loud. You understand? Right? Like Richard would say, you don't have to kick a dead horse. Yeah? As we learned in a Braita. What does that mean? When a person has metzorah, he comes and he tells everybody that he's tameh. Why is he doing that? Because he wants to come and he's going to tell everybody, right? He's going to come and he's going to tell everybody right? That about the entire concept of what? He's going to come and he's going to tell everybody that he's suffering. So therefore, Rabbi they're going to come, they're going to pray for him. So anybody that has something that he's suffering, he tells people, and then Rabbi
I do this, my wife gets mad at me. I tell everybody.
He says, why do we say Amida belachash? In order not to embarrass the people that do averot. Because we didn't make a differentiation between the chatat and olah, which means a person could bring a korban. We think that he's bringing a olah, really he's bringing a chatat, but we don't want to embarrass him, so that's why it's the exact same place. Says the Gemara velo, and it's not. You've got blood. What do you mean the bloods? Dam chatat lemala, dam olah lemata. Where do you sprinkle the blood? Meaning I could find out what he brought by paying attention to the Kohen. Where's the Kohen sprinkling the blood? If he's sprinkling the blood above, so then you already know above the chuta sikra, above the red line on the mizbeach, on the altar. So then you already know that it's a chatat. And if he's bringing it below, you know that it's going to be an olah. So you could find out through the blood. Says the Gemara, hatam kohen udiyado. There, it's only the kohen that knows, not everybody. Meaning, where is he bringing? He comes and you see him in the same place, but you don't see where the kohen is afterwards. Meaning the kohenim themselves know you're right, but not everybody else. So says the Gemara, 1 second. He says 1 second, but you could tell by the female, by the gender of the animal. Meaning, a chatat is dafka nekeva. And the olah is dafka zachar. So if I come and I see the animal, I can know, is this a male or female? And male, I know if you're bringing the chatat or olah. And so the Gemara hatam there, mikasya balya. The siman of whether it's a male or female is always going to be covered by the tail. So people cannot notice. Meaning you would need too much to distinguish, to start looking and finding out, is it a male or female animal? So because that, it was purposely done in such a way. Tena kifsa, that's only going to be a kifsa, a keves, a sheep. But sida, goat, what are you going to do then? Because you know it's a chatat. So he says, he says, no, there, he's being Mavayesh himself. He could have brought a sheep. And the sheep could have been the same for the, meaning the male or female is different, but people wouldn't notice the difference so much. If he's now coming and deciding on his own to bring a goat instead of the sheep, so he's embarrassing himself. It's not us. Meaning he's doing it to himself. Okay, so ask the Gemara, what about chatat avodat kochavim? The chatat avodat kochavim has to be a seida, has to be a goat. What are you going to say there? It says no. Hatam nix of there we want him to be embarrassed.
Great answer.
You know why we want him to say? In order that he should have an atonement. Meaning by avodah zarah, we want him to be embarrassed, so we will have an atonement. By everything else, we don't want him to be embarrassed. Let him cover it up. That's fine.
The basket of bikurim also is the same.
I just
Kriyat Shema, right? How do we know the Kriyat Shema can be said in any language? In any language that you hear. We learned to the Braita Kriyat Shema kichtava. Kriyat Shema has to be in the language that it's written, which is the Lashon HaKodesh. These are the words of Rabbi. Chachamim say in any language. My time the Rabbi, what's the reasoning of Rabbi? Amakra, the pasuk says vayu. What do you mean vayu advarim haele? Vayu advarim haele. Sheba v'yatani. They have to be exactly the way that it is. Rabbanam, according to the rabbis, it says in the pasuk Shema. What does it mean Shema? In any language that you hear. So he says fine. Rabbanan amikti vayu, but it's also written v'hayu for the rabbis. It says no. When it says vayu, it means that you can't read it retroactively. Meaning don't read it backwards. If you read it backwards, right, ubisharecha. Right, things like that, mezuzot. You're reading it backwards, it doesn't help. But Rabbi, how does Rabbi know that you can't read Shema backwards? But the fact that it says and it says had devarim, so therefore we know the extra hey teaches you that you cannot read it backwards. It has to be going forwards. But according to the rabbis, they don't like this thing of devarim, had devarim. They don't like the devarim. They don't like these things. Right? The Rabbi Nami Aktiv and Rabbi it's written Shema, which means that you should do it in any Lashon Shata Shomea. There he says no. How do you know the Kriyat Shema has to be said that you could hear yourself? That is Shema. Shema means that you have to lashmiya leoznecha. Your ears have to hear that which you take out of your mouth. And that's what he learns from Shema. So therefore it's not going to Rabbanan hold like the Mandamar that if you said Shema and you didn't hear it in your ears, you're going to be Yotzei Yedei Chova.